need to get going now and to start our workshop. Just to introduce to you the colleagues that are on this call, we have Chloe and Numisa, who are part of this call. And yes, and Wayne, thank you very much. So that that is the team from SAFCEI, and welcome colleagues. Chloe and Numisa will be helping us with the communication as well as the technicals. And we do hope all of us will enjoy this session. And I asked Michelle to start us off with prayer. Michelle, would you like to please say the prayers before we begin our session today? Hello, Michelle, are you able to proceed? No, we seem not to be able to communicate with Michelle. May I ask Reverend Dr. Thomas to please help us with an opening prayer? Sorry, I just had to pick you up. I had spoken to Michelle earlier, but I think she is unable to. Please go ahead, Rev.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please proceed.
Good morning, everyone. Let us commend ourselves to our Creator, and especially in this important workshop, in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
God our Father, Creator of heaven and earth, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for calling us in many ways to know you and to serve you as we live in this world. Lord, we started this workshop because you wanted it to happen so that your people can know where we are, can know how to use your resources meaningfully, can know how to produce food that feeds not just themselves, but everyone. And so as we continue to listen to our facilitators whom you have given wisdom to put together all the materials that we are going to share, open our hearts and minds, inspire them with your wisdom, so that as they share with us, only your greater glory may be revealed. Be with all the people who are going to benefit from this workshop, especially those who wanted to be with us, but are not able to do so because of other various challenges. We ask you, Lord, to continue blessing SAFCEI because of the wonderful work it is doing, so that as we look into the future, the good things may come out and all your people may be grateful under your care, the Creator of all. We ask this not because we are worthy, but because out of your love, we have done so many things that we will continue to appreciate all the days of our lives. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rev. And we continue to welcome colleagues that are joining in. And the objective of our meeting today is to look at one of the most critical elements when we are looking at farming, and which is water. When we also look at the issues of climate change, we take note that our region, the Southern African region, is one of the regions that is now becoming a water scarce region, and it is also a hotspot for the impacts of climate change, meaning we are going to be having water stressed communities, and we are also going to be having lots of flooding and droughts. And therefore, in this meeting, it is important for us to learn about water, the way we are going to conserve it, the way we can harvest it. And John is the person to be able to lead us in that particular discussion. And I would like to proceed and ask Claude to actually share with us. But before we do that, my colleague Nzira has something to say. Please go ahead, Nzira.
Thank you, Gabriel, and good morning to everyone. Just a little reminder to please keep your mics on mute and to keep your videos off. And if you have joined using someone else's link, please, when you enter the room, rename yourself to the correct name so we can know who's in the room. So if you're using Gabriel's link to log in, please rename yourself. Thank you.
Many thanks, Nzira. Claude, please may we move on and share the screen so that we can proceed with today's session. Thank you and all the best to everyone.
Good morning. Today on webinar 4, we are going to talk about ensure sustainable consumption and production food system for water management. We need, when we talk of water management, we need to understand the water management in a way that we receive clean water from municipality or from rain, from rivers. Clean water comes to us. And then from our houses, we have two types of water, black water and the gray water. So we need to look at how can we manage that, and also look at how can we manage water in our farms, how can we manage water or rainwater when we receive rain. So water is so precious to us. So I'm going to cover the water cycle, ground cover, which I covered on the soil. The very important thing is that water and soil are sisters, twin sisters. So as I explain about water, I'm going to touch a little bit in the process about soil, though I covered it in the previous webinar. So we are going to look at water harvesting. We are going to look at irrigation systems and gray and black water system. This is where we look at waste management on water. How do we manage wastewater? Okay. So in Southern Africa, as you see this map was taken 2015, and the reference is NOAA climate.government. It's a data for ARC, that's Agricultural Research Council in Zimbabwe. In South Africa. So this map, it's indicating that, as you see here, the gray or brown color, it all means that this is a crisis of water. We do not have enough water in these areas. And it has been discovered that 2016, we had terrible rain in this area compared to where we have some green dots. As you know, South Africa or Southern Africa, where you have the blue dots here going up here, it is almost a desert. It used not to get better rains. But in 2016, it happened that there were more rain this side compared to the areas where we usually get better rains. What does that mean? It all means that it's climate change. And the climate change, it is the shift of the patterns of rain. When we used to get rain early, like August, September, October, we are now getting first rain sometime in November. It depends the region where you are. We are a bit like this year or this season, 2021 to 2022. We are getting, according to the researchers, they say we are going to get better rain. But after that, again, we are going to get poor rains. So it happens that we get good rain, better rain. But always we cry. And always we cry that we do not have enough water. We do not have even clean water. So even in farming, when you drill a bore, you find out there is no water underground. So where is this water? Where is this water going after receiving it? You find that this water is going to the ocean. And when it's going to the ocean, it's difficult to return this water back into the land. It's very expensive. Plus, it's salty and it needs expensive machines to purify it. Although South Africa is trying that, but it is just a waste of our natural resources. We have to go back to the drawing board, to the fundamentals. The fundamentals that we are talking about is to take care of the environment. Taking care of the environment, we are talking about taking care of water. How do we make sure that a drop of rain that comes on our farm, in our homestead, how do we catch that and make sure that we use it for the future? Or you direct it into the ground so the soil can bang it, so that when you drill a bore or when a tree is growing in an area, it is able to get enough water underground. So when you look at a micro level, you find that these are some things that you find on the landscape. You walk in your community or you visit another community, you find that after rain, there is a color change of water in the river. What does that mean? It means this is soil that has been exported from our fields and makes this river change color. And when this happens, it all means that water, this can indicate to me that rainwater that is coming into our fields is not going to the soil. It's going out into the ocean. It's going to the rivers and then to the ocean. And we are losing a lot of nutrients and losing a lot of water from our homestead, from our farms. On the left here, you can find that the plant roots are exposed on the surface. It all means that the soil used to be somewhere here, and now it has been eroded. The soil is gone. But what erodes it is the poor water management that we have in our communities, in our farms. If we have poor water management, you'll end up finding lots of roots exposed in your field or in your homestead. If you find this in your homestead, in your farm, know that you are not caring for the earth. You are not caring for the water. You are allowing water to run away from you. And after that, you suffer. And this is a serious case in Southern Africa, where we cut down the trees. And then when we receive rain, the water just runs on the surface and goes to the ocean. We are chasing forest away. Like in the Sud people, when I was working with them there, they were saying forests are running away from them. They are no longer getting firewood closer. They go for 2 days, 3 days to look for firewood. And it means the journey they are taking is 5-10 kilometers away from the homestead. And what happened to this area where they are no longer trees? There are no longer trees. It all means that they cut down trees and they use it for firewood for other things. That's poor caring of the environment. And it's poor caring of the water. Where there are no trees, there is no good water cycle. So look here, it's after removing the trees. This is what happened to your landscape. This is siltation that came here, and the water stagnates. It takes long to go down. It means poor water cycle. Have you ever seen a schoolyard, within a schoolyard, or even some homestead where there are no tree bare, and they talk of a desert? They think a desert is in Kalahari or Sahara Desert, but desert is right in the foot on your doorstep. right on your doorstep, there is deserts. Why can't we, in the education system, we properly educate our children that if a ground is bare within the classroom doorstep, it is a desert. How can we turn desert to production? Or how can we turn this environment to something that is becomes the lung of the earth? You find in town, in municipalities, because of poor water management, they build roads, and when they build these roads, they put storm drains on the edge, and they allow water to run on the side of the road. But the management is poor. Then at the end, the erosion is even affecting the roads. Lots of landslides that are happening because of poor management. If you remember, in Zimbabwe, there was a cyclone Idai. It killed lots of people, said. But the major thing is the soil was saturated with water, and the soil, the mountain slides. And it's because the water that was running from the mountain, there were no trees where it was running. And also, there were no proper management around that area of management of water management in the mountains. So we need to be proactive to reduce this catastrophe that happens in our Southern Africa. We can start by looking at principles of water management. Remember, I covered this in the soil management, soil and water assistance. So cover ground, absorb, make sure water is absorbed in the soil, protect and preserve the water runoff by storing water into tank, spread water into a vegetative area, and save water by managing wastewater, redirect wastewater into a productive system, and store and catch water, make sure that water is stored in tanks or stored into the ground, into the soil. So when we talk about water, you need to understand the ecological cycles. The ecological cycles, it includes things like water cycle. How effective is the water cycle in your community? How is it effective? The nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, oxygen cycle, energy cycle, food chain, daily and seasonal cycles. Yeah, what changes are there? Polyculture systems in our gardens. What systems do we have in our gardens? As you look on to the right here, you can find it's a swell, but around it, there are grasses around closer to the swell. Swell is this one, the one that is holding water. And on the edge here, there is grasses and then crops in the far right here. And around it, there is some forest that allows this water to go down into the ground. Or if you keep this water for long, you can keep fish even in that trench. So the water that is received in there is not allowed to go. It's forced it to stay in the contour ridge and allowed it to filter or to infiltrate into the soil step by step. So when the water goes into the ground, you are promoting the good water cycle. And when all this happens, all these other cycles can also be promoted. But if the water cycle is not managed well, all these other cycles can be affected. I'll share with you more on water cycle. For example, we have an understanding that the water cycle, sometimes it's water from the dam evaporates, go into atmosphere, condensation, clouds, precipitation, water we receive again, it continues that way. When we talk about that, without considering a tree in the water cycle, that is ineffective water cycle if there is no tree in the water cycle. Every water cycle should have trees or vegetation or plants because the plants, they are the master of cleaning the dirt, of cleaning the atmospheric gases, and also of cleaning the water, of allowing water to go into the ground. Because where they are the roots of a tree, the water or rainwater follows the roots to go into the ground, and the water is banked into underground water table. And the same tree can help in pumping water out into the atmosphere for rain, for precipitation. When it pumps water out, we call it evapotranspiration. It goes into the atmosphere, and then we get condensation and we get rain. If we do not have dams, the trees can provide all what we need to get rain. We can get enough rain only from evapotranspiration that happens in a forest. That's why equatorial forest, we have lots of rain, because there are lots of trees. So a bare ground, it means we are chasing away rain. So sometimes we are not getting rain in our communities because we don't have enough trees. So who should bring these trees? It's us. So if it's us, let's start by planting as much trees within our gardens or vegetation within our gardens to prevent erosion, to prevent runaway of water from our farms. We need to make sure that every drop that comes into our farm, we force it to go into the ground, or you store it into a tank for future use. So this is very important. Tree or plants are very important on the landscape. If you find a farm without trees, it means he's contributing to the climate change impacts of climate change. So for me, I don't want to be one of the contributors of negative impact to climate change. I like to make sure that we sequestrate, we adapt to climate change, but also we mitigate the climate change pressures. So what it means is that with water management, imagine what happens when you receive water in here. Some of the water can go down, but the soil can easily be saturated. And when it's saturated, then it starts to erode. So this is a small desert in communities. But when you look to the right side, where there is a cover, what happens to the rainwater? It's supposed to go into the ground. When it's supposed to go into the ground, then we have clean, the water goes in the soil to the rivers or to form springs. Then we have clean water in the rivers. We don't have gray or red water in the soil, in the rivers, because the water is running from the surface of the soil into the ground and supported by the roots, and then it goes to the water table and supports rivers and dams. So what it all means is that we can practice different ways of conserving conserving water. I talked about station planting earlier. So within a small pit like this, you plant 4 or 5 crops. It can be pumpkin or cowpeas. Then you concentrate water in here. So you don't get other areas that do not have plants. When you concentrate water here, water goes direct into the ground. Then you get good yield, like what you see on the right. So water management, we cannot ignore the water harvesting. So water harvesting is the collection of rainwater runoff from a structure or landscape in order to store it for later use. The water may be stored in soil or in an infrastructure like tanks or dams. So you can build dams or tanks. There are so many ways that you can do to build, so many methods that we can use to build dams. For banking water into the soil, it's only when we allow water to go into the soil. That's very important, to allow water to go into the ground. So what is rainwater harvesting? I want to emphasize the rainwater harvesting meaning of it, you find out that as it is the collection of water into this water harvesting techniques includes, but not limited to this. These level 1 water management, where we look at contour plowing, contour ridges, tide ridges, stone lines, and tree strips, hedges, grasslands, and terraces. We are talking about making sure that level 1 on your farm, you should have contour plowing, you should have contour ridges, you should have tide ridges, stone lines, stone strips, hedge grass strips, and terraces. Level 2, we are talking about planting pits, earth basin, green manure, cover crops, mulching, net and pan system, bomb range type system, and irrigation methods that we can apply. Level 2, it's the conservation tillage and the rooftop water catchments. And level 4 is the trancheras and gabions, valley lines systems, key line systems, and imprinting systems. These are systems that we can use for the water harvesting technology. The rainwater harvesting technology, there are some approaches that we can use. One is observe the landscape. That's what we were talking about earlier. What is happening to the water? 2, work from the highest point. What is happening to the highest point of the water? Are we catching water from the mountain to the rivers? Spread and infiltration. Are we able to allow water to go into the ground? And this is where we talk about GW, green waters. And make effective use of soil water reserves. How are we making sure water is managed in a right way? Take measures to avoid runoff water, evaporation, and overflow of water. The blue water management, I'll share with you the blue water management system. Maximize on living and organic ground covers to make sure that the water infiltrating the soil. Plan for effective irrigation system. Reassess and feedback. Link back to observe and interact with the water management system. So when we look about this, okay, this one repeated. When you look about this, we are talking about the green or blue waters. The green water system, it's when you plant lots of species. Like here, you don't see the water. You don't see water on the surface. So when you plant this, the trees, and the water goes into the ground, we call it blue water. Water is stored into the soil. And that the blue water helps the holding capacity of water in the soil. Also, to improve the holding capacity, you can use organic fertilizers, biomass, green manure cover crop systems, and plant diversity on the landscape to make sure that you promote the green water system. The blue water is the water you see in the rivers or tanks or dams. You can see it. It's exposed, but you can also create a plant cover to make sure that there is no evaporation of water from the rivers, from the dams. You can also make sure that you can put floating islands in your dams, like here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. These things, they float around in the water. And in this same dam, you can put fish. And this is a method that you can do as a farmer. As a farmer, you can plan your land in a way that you create contour ridges. Like here, it's a farm we designed in Guyana. We use a tractor to plow or to make these ridges. So water runs from this side, going down this way, and it's stopped within here with this ridge. And then it's allowed to go into the ground. You can plant stuff like vetiver grass on a ridge or in a contour line, and then the water from here, it comes, it's stopped by the vetiver. Then you are forcing the water to go into the ground. And then the vetiver can be used for nets, for basket, for other stuff. That can help in improving the soil, like mulch, cut the grass and use it as mulch. At homestead, we can catch the water from the roof and bring it into the tank. We can build tanks like this one. Water from the roof comes in here. It goes out into this tank, into another tank here. From this tank, it goes into another tank. And then it's able to provide water into the ground, water into the field. And then plants grow happily in this environment. You can see, you can create enterprise out of water management. As I indicated here, you can keep fish, and also here, you can catch water and allow it to sit. It goes slowly into the ground, but you can keep fish and make sure that the fish are a source of protein. And the water is stored for future use. The fish can fertilize the water. The droppings of fish can be manure that is high in nitrogen. So when you do water management, we need to know what means ways of irrigating your garden. These are all the methods that you can use for irrigating your garden. But in this case, for water conservation purpose, we use drip system. Drip irrigation is the most effective way of watering your garden or your farm. You can use other methods like mist irrigation or microjets for your nursery, but mainly the drip line or drip system is the most effective for water management. When you have gray water, what can you do with it? Or when you have black water? The difference between gray water and black water is the gray water is the water you use for washing. From washing, the water that is used for bath, the water that has been used from cleaning pots. So the water from those sources are gray water. What is black water? Black water is the water from the toilet. After flushing the toilet, it's a black water. So you can do biological treatment of this. You see here, we have 3 dams. And these dams are made just by plastic, using plastic. And then we plant species like Papyrus, Jangas, Iris, Bulrush, to make sure that water from here, it's filtered. As it goes to another basin, it's also filtered. When it comes to the far end, the water is clean, because the water, all the pathogens and some chemicals that come from the soap or some detergents can be cleaned by the plants. So this is possible in our farms, so that we don't allow water to go back to municipality, and then it comes back, you pay for it. So the idea here is to say the water that comes to me, it doesn't go back to municipality. You have to use it several times. So for the gray water and black water, I can use it to grow papyrus and the papyrus can be used for making nets or baskets, or can also, it's good for the greening of the environment, cleaning of the carbon from the atmosphere. So multi-purpose function plants can be introduced on your farm to make sure that they are cleaning the water for you and for the environment. Water, if you have a small garden, you can put this so-called irrigation pipes. So as you plant your tree, you have a pipe that goes underneath the roots. So the water, you can bring a bucket and then with water and put the water in here. Then the water goes down to the bottom part of the tree. And then the roots will follow hydrotropism system, and then it can feed the plant to grow. The grey water also can be designed in this way, where you connect the pipe from the house and allow this is the water from the washing machine. It goes to one big tree or small tree. Then when this one is growing, you connect the pipe to another tree, you start growing another tree, you connect again to another tree. It goes on like that. So after a year, you can plant over 100 trees for the water by the water from the washing machine. Also from tap, you can plant several trees by using the same method. Do not allow this water to go right on the surface, because sometimes it creates salts and other plants can die out of that. So water management is one important thing that can be designed by us. The choice or what we see on the environment, it's made by us. So we have two paths, like the Bible. They say there is a path, narrow path, and there is a wider path. And the narrow path creates abundance. And when we talk about narrow path creates abundance, it means you are harvesting the local resources, you are harvesting water. And also it means that rainwater is used primarily for the local resources. Then also grey water is secondary water, but rainwater is the primary water. As you receive rainwater, make sure you use it. Municipal water is supplementary. If we go that way, you won't pay huge bills on the landscape, because the water will be almost free, because it's coming out from the rainwater. So the scarcity way is when water is drained away from the local resources and no water is managed, and then we start living in the deserts. It's the deserts we live, and that's what you see on this picture below. This guy, during rain, he just see the water running away. He doesn't have idea of how he can harvest this water. And even his trees, he make a mound around the trees, and the water run away from the trees. You can see water runs away from the tree and goes to the river. Whilst this gentleman is happy when he receives rain, because all the water from the roof goes into tank, and it also goes into the basins of a tree and to the flowers, to the happy garden. So there is no waste of water within the environment, within the situation here. So it is up to us to create a good environment that manages water, and then we have effective water cycle. So these are key players here. These key players are in water conservation. We have Giuseppe Tararico is in India. He's a very good, if you check, here's some YouTube, here's some information on website. He's a master in water management systems. John Dilu, he is also from China. He has wide knowledge on water management systems, and he has practiced water management activities at a wider landscape, like at a broader landscape. Dr. Robert Dixon is also a great water harvesting gentleman from, I think, from America. And then the late Bill Molson. If you read his book, A Designer's Manual, Permaculture, A Designer's Manual, he talks a lot about water management in Africa, all over the world. He's from Australia. And if you also come across Yemen's book, PA, he talks about keyline system, and he talks about how can you manage water on a landscape to make sure that you don't lose any drop of water by creating small dams throughout the landscape. Also, Critchley, he also wrote a book, a manual for design and construction of water harvesting schemes for plant production. It talks about how we can manage the drop of water on the landscape and how we can effectively use the irrigation system that conserve water. So basically, I'd like to say it is in our hands to create an environment that can effectively manage water. It is us who can make the environment happy, so that we become also happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Do we have any questions that would want to ask from this particular presentation for John to respond?
Hello.
Hello, Rev Thomas. Please just give us a second. I do see your hand is up. I also see Patient's hand is up.
Sorry.
Okay, Rev Thomas, do you have a question?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to appreciate the presentation that we have just been exposed to. A lot of work went into it, and there's no doubt that every point that was made is very relevant to this issue of water management. I always, after listening to such wonderful presentations, I always ask myself one question. You see, we are living in a world that we cannot control. We are not in control of many things. We are not in control of resources. And we know very well that without resources, wonderful ideas can just be as good as such. I mean, many words don't fill a basket at the end of the day. So my In fact, my question is not directed to John, the presenter, but I think to SAFCEI as an organization. Don't you think that with all the resources that we have in terms of ideas, it's a time for SAFCEI to think out of the box, make sure that there are resources available, so that as we have such presentation, the next question would be, who are the people ready to take up the challenge and the resources are available? You see, when there is support to do some of these projects or to initiate some of these projects, I think we will get somewhere. Because really, this is very critical. For me, it's very critical. And it's not something that is speculative. We can actually give people tasks to say, okay, this is an area where you have to work in terms of water management and whatever. And these are the resources available to support you. So I'm simply saying, do we have the potential to move towards that direction, that SAFCEI will one day be able to say, okay, we have this funding, we want you to initiate projects like water management or whatever, something like that. That's my, I mean, you can see, I may not have put it clearly, but I've got all sorts of ideas running through my mind. But I'm simply saying, is there a possibility that SAFCEI will one day tell us that they have sufficient resources to sponsor those courageous people or our heroes who are prepared to venture into their known territory, or who are prepared to take up the challenge, if I may put it that way? Thank you.
Many thanks, Rev Thomas. And yes, we are making efforts to ensure that we have some resources to support and assist those that would want to venture into agroecological practices. But I wouldn't say they will be sufficient. We will just have maybe something to support the whole cause. But in future, yes, we would want to actually generate sufficient resources so that we will be better able to support the different communities that are going to be practicing agroecological practices. Thank you very much for that. And I see another hand. Patience, may you please go ahead.
Good morning, Gabriel and all Earth Keepers. Thank you so much for such an enlightening, wonderful presentation. So the question that I have is still pretty much the same question that I had last week. So this is regarding the gray and black water. I just wanted to find out, or rather be safe as a farmer, that with regards to using black and gray water, is it really safe on crops, or that's just another way of damaging and killing your garden?
Okay, thank you, Patience. This one I'll pass on to John.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patience. And thank you, the team and Gabriel and team. About gray water and black water, I think the best, as I presented there, black water, I didn't say put it on crops, on vegetables. No, I encourage it, black water to be used on multi-purpose plants like the Piparas, which is a good plant for making baskets, making mats, and also they are just good for greening, for sequestrating carbon. So those are the plants that can clean the dirty, but at the same time we can cut them back for other uses like crafts. When you direct gray water to plants like fruit trees, it is very effective on fruit trees, but as long the gray water is not running on the surface, you design around the fruit tree to make sure that the water, as it reaches the fruit tree, it goes down in the ground. Another level is that the gray water, before it goes into the trees, you can treat it by directing to a sand bed or in a drum where you have rocks and sand to purify it a bit so that you remove the detergents or the synthetic chemicals from soap and also oils. You remove oil and then you direct the water into an oxygenated base, like a drum that is open where you have trees, and then from there it goes into the garden or into the crops. When you use it in the garden, do not use it for root crops. Usually we use it for the leaf crop or the fruit crop, so that it's not contaminating the fruit or the food that you're gonna eat. But it's a process. If you start practicing now, you'll find out that your own research can give you better results. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the response and answer. Now I actually have a clear view and perspective on what kind of water I could now use to secure my growing crop. So thank you.
Thank you, Patience. Do we have any other question? Okay, your hand is still up, Patience. Is it for the question that you have asked, or you would want to ask another question?
Oh no, it was from the previous question.
Okay, thank you.
Go down.
All right. Anybody else with any question, or do we want to proceed? Yes, I see Happy Mbewe. May you please go ahead with your question?
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My question, I just wanted a clarification from John, but first let me thank him for the very well planned presentation. I wanted him to help me understanding better on the techniques of water management. I wanted John to help me understand on the techniques or for water management. Actually, on the spray, I want to understand better on spray water management technique. Sure.
Over to you, John.
Yeah, is it spread, like you say, spread? Okay, the
Yes,
spread, what we are, yeah, okay, the spread, what we are talking about is when you have water running on the ground, maybe probably at your homestead there is a pathway or a road. When it's on a steep or on a gentle slope, you see water running on the road. So what we say, put a hump in a simple way, and when you put a hump, you direct it into a vegetative area. The vegetative area is where if you have a small forest or you have trees or you have grass, direct the hump will take water on the sides, probably both sides. So when both sides, it then goes directed to the trees or to the grass. When it's at the grass or the tree, because of the roots of the grass, the roots of the trees, it allows the water to go into the ground. So you are reducing the concentration of water from the road, because when it's concentrated in the road, the neighbor's water, rainwater that is not managed, it comes in the same road, and another neighbor comes in the same road, then it accumulates. As it accumulates, if we follow it where it pours into the river, it starts forming a gully, and that gully comes back to your homesteads. And that's why we have lots of gullies around our homesteads, is because we are not spreading water, we are not managing water in the right way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I noticed, Rev, you have your hand up. We are trying to get our next presenter to come on because he wants to present and move on to another activity. May I ask Reverend and Darlington, as well as Edward. If you can put your questions in the chat, then we'll ask John to respond to those questions so that we may ask Kanangwa to take us to the next session where we are looking at the marketing of agroecological produce as from a business perspective, so that we would assist each other for those that are already into agroecology on how you can be able to market your produce. Kanangwa, if you can hear me, are you on this call now? Okay, maybe once she is still there, I can ask Reverend Thomas to ask the question.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Make it short so that when she comes on board.
Thank you. Mine was just, a suggestion to say, could SAFCEI please compile this information? Because for me, if we've got a manual on water management that we can always refer to, it would be very helpful. Some of the questions really would be catered for. I don't need to constantly come to Mr. Nzira, to Mr. Manyangaze. But if there's a manual that SAFCEI can make available, then we can always consult, unless there are very critical technical issues that I may want to. But I think a manual would take us a long way in making sure that when we want to have our projects, then we know where to refer to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rev. And from Edward, he says, is water harvested during rainy season safe to use during the summertime? John?
Yeah, yes. In actual fact, I think what we are talking about is the rain season. It's in summer, mostly if you are in Southern Africa. So that is the time of harvesting it, and you can use it in winter when you don't have rain. So if you store it in a tank, then it's safe to use it in winter when there is no rain to grow your vegetables. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Claude, is Kanangwa now on the call?
Hi, Gabriel. I'll just confirm for you just now. On my side, I cannot see, however, unless they've joined with a different name onto this call.
Yes, there's somebody who's joined as Gabriel, so maybe it's.
Yeah, that's it.
That's him.
Yeah. Kanangwa, please come through and may you please share with us your presentation. And she has actually sent a presentation on. Hi, please go ahead. Thank you very much, Kanangwa. You're most welcome. Just as a quick introduction.
I had trouble getting in.
Sorry about that. Kanangwa is an agroecological practitioner, and she is actually living off the ground by actually practicing agroecology and selling this. So we would want to tap into experiences and for her to share with us how to market agroecological produce. Please go ahead, Kanangwa.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm trying to get. So thanks very much for giving me this opportunity to share what I can, from my experience and also from what I have learned. I will have a bit of theory also in it. So basically, the first thing to consider, I'll tell you a little story of what happened just a few weeks ago here in Zambia. to see why it is very important, this subject that we're going to talk about. So this farmer enthusiastically, well, just to put it in a nutshell, this farmer is not an ecological organic farmer, but a farmer is a farmer. You know, we respect each other and each other's choices. So he grew nearly 30 tons of tomato, and then he took it to the market. And when he got to the market, he found that the price that the tomato was selling at that time, when he went to the market, was not even enough to cover the cost of his transportation to the market. And so he took that truckload of tomato, went to a nearby bush and offloaded it there. Now he's saying that because I am, as Gabriel said, that's my livelihood, ecological organic farmer. And I'll tell you how I did it. Plus, as I said, I will have a bit of theory in it. So the first thing that you have got to consider as when you venture on this path is that you have to think like an entrepreneur, an ecological organic entrepreneur in this case. So you have got to think like an entrepreneur. How does an entrepreneur think? An entrepreneur thinks in terms of filling a gap in a market. So, for example, let's assume in your area where you are, you find that from your own efforts, I hope it will be from your own efforts, you find out that there's a gap for ecological organic produce, fresh produce. So you as an entrepreneur, what are you going to do? You're going to go out there and find out what are those products, ecological organic products that are missing. Second of all, you are going to go specifically to respond to the needs of the consumer. Once that is done, you're not going to be like that farmer who grew 30 tons of tomato when the consumers didn't need it. What you're going to do, you're going to go out there and provide only the products that are needed by the consumer. Then there will be demand and you are going to be the supplier. So there's your market sorted out. The third thing that you're going to consider is to respond to the needs of, it's to address local needs first. A lot of us, we want to start big, like 30 tons of tomato in one go. However, the best practice is you grow 5 tons worth or 3 tons worth, spread it out. Let's assume that is what the consumers need. They need organic tomato. Don't go out growing the entire 30 tons. Spread it out. And as you know, with ecological organic farming and with the practice of companion planting, it actually allows you to spread it out. And then you can also enjoy some diversity. So as an ecological organic farmer, there's a lot that actually is in our favor. We can address a lot of the local needs through our practice of diversity of food. So for example, you can know that, okay, I can grow beetroot together with a few herbs and some legumes, some pulses. So there you are. You're not going to show up at the market with 30 tons of tomato. You will show up with 10 kilograms of beetroot. You will show up with 15 kilograms of carrot. You show up with 50 kilograms of potatoes, because as an ecological organic farmer, that is achievable. So you are going to address the local needs first before you go out there and cater for England or, you know, all these other far-flung countries and places. So without repeating myself, the next thing that you have to consider, start with what's in demand, because what's in demand is going to help you now plan what you're going to grow, when you're going to grow, and how you're going to grow. And that what that will mean is that you will be consistent. So what's in demand would be, what is the product in demand and how much and over what period of time? So for example, if what's in demand from your own research is organic potatoes, so you are going to say, okay, how much potatoes is required in my local market? And then you will find that maybe they need 50 kilograms every day. You are going to grow, taking into account your diversity, you are going to grow spaced out your potatoes. And you know, as organic farmers, we know that organic produce stores longer. So what's in demand with that information, you are going to succeed, and then you are going to satisfy the market. The one thing that you have to consider when you are marketing ecological organic produce like any other is that you have to satisfy the market, or else the market moves on. The other thing you have to consider is consistency. You have to be consistent in your production, you have to be consistent in your quality, and you have to be consistent in your delivery. So if you say to your customers through whatever means, then maybe social media or WhatsApp or whatever mode of communication you use, you will tell them, my name or your company, we supply shop X with this product every day. Those consumers are going to know from your communication that every time they walk in there, they're going to find your ecologically grown potatoes. And if they don't find those potatoes just for one day, that's it. Your credibility is ruined, which is why it is important to create synergies with other like-minded farmers. But of course, that takes on another leg in terms of, participatory guarantee systems or whatever system that you can employ. But when you venture into this is serious business. You have got to commit to sitting on the shelf with a consistent quality, consistent supply. So if you start out with one type of packaging, make sure that you keep with it. The next thing I'm going to talk about in this segment is you have to know your value proposition. The value proposition simply means that what is it you're bringing to the table? Why should consumers buy from you and not from Farmer W? Why should they pay a certain price to you and not to Farmer W? Don't forget that there's a lot of noise that is being made in the market. A lot of the times, it looks like it's a buyer's market, when actually it isn't. It's how you go out there and you present your value proposition. As I said, your value proposition simply means that what is it about your product that sets it apart from others? Now, just to home in on one thing here, it could be from a practical point of view and ecological practices, it could be you are going to go to the market and say, well, my products are grown taking into account the ecosystem. My products are grown taking into account the health of all the inhabitants of the earth. There you go. That could be your value proposition. To add to that, your value proposition could be, well, my products are nutritionally dense, because ecologically grown products have been proven scientifically to be nutritionally dense. So you have got to know before you go to the market, what is your value proposition? It could be that you are only 5 kilometers from the market. They are fresher than those products that are coming from 50, 60, 70, 80 kilometers away, or take a day. To reach the market. Okay, so far, I hope. Okay, so while you are doing this, it's very important, especially if you are in it for the long haul. If you are in this business for a long haul, if it's your business, you have chosen, like I have, that this is going to be your livelihood, you have got to now start thinking about creating a strong brand for your ecologically grown organic product. So the first thing you have to consider is decide who you are. Who are you? And this question has got to be answered as honestly as possible. There's no two ways about it. Who are you? And then this question also encompasses, why are you going into this business? Of course, we all want to go into business for one reason or other. But remember, the first reason has got to be you want to fill a gap in the market. And that gap, as I said earlier, could be for, ecologically, organically produced potatoes. Or the reason I'm talking about potatoes is because I've just been delivering potatoes. So it's at my fingertips, but that's not the only thing. Don't be swayed by that. There's all this diversity of products that we enjoy as ecological organic farmers. So why are you going into it? Who are you? So when you answer these two questions, who are you? What are your values? So once you answer this one, then the second thing you have to do now is to know your audience. As I said in the beginning, get to know your market. When you are finding out what the gap is, you will know who your audience is. And as a result, you're going to know what your tone is going to be. So let's take, for example, your audience are middle class in your country. The way you are going to be addressing them will be reflecting your audience as you create your brand. So your language will be in terms of, do you still want your grandchildren to see the bees in 20 years' time? So if your audience are older people who want to leave a legacy, you're going to use words like, leave a legacy by supporting your local organic, ecological organic farmer, etc., etc. Once you know your audience, you're going to know the language as well as the tone that you're going to use to build your brand. Remember, your brand is very important. Selling willy-nilly, you're going to get drowned in this, sea of brands and products. And if your aim, as I said, is to be in this for the long haul, you have got to start working on your brand. It's very important. Then the next thing you have to know is know your competition. Very important. Not because you want to kick them out of the market, well, that would be good if you kick them out of your market with your ecologically grown products. Know your competition. Now, in knowing your competition, you are going to know what is it they have done right? What is it they have done wrong? What it is they haven't done? That way, it actually gives you less work to embark on. You're not going to be reinventing the wheel. You're going to say, okay, they did this, it failed. My competition did this, it failed. But maybe they should have tweaked it a little bit, you see? So your competition actually is your ally in this case. They are going to help you to avoid mistakes because they've already made the mistakes. So as you build your brand, know who your competition are and keep them very close. And invest in your brand. Very, very important to invest in your brand. Now, as an ecological farmer, or ecological organic farmer, you should know that whatever goes with your product has got to reflect who you are. Who are you? You're an ecological organic farmer. So your language, your packaging, your staff, your branding has got to reflect that because you went into that business answering the why question. So I'm not going to dictate what that why question is, but once you answer that, it has got to reflect. And as you invest in your brand, everything, your packaging has got to reflect who you are as a brand, who you are as a business, and who you are as a person. The next thing I'm going to talk about is you have to think big. Think that one day there will be shiploads of your products going overseas. Think big, but act local. As I said previously, You have got to start with your local market. In fact, your local markets are your biggest ally, in the sense that, I'll give you an example. For every, I know you've got different currencies where we are, but I'm going to use our Zambian kwacha because I'm in Zambia. For every kwacha that you spend, right, your market as your marketing cost in your local market, you will get back at least 30% more than if you went to market outside of your local market. It's not rocket science. It's just logic. So if you're going to travel 5 kilometers to your market, right, your cost will be X, whatever it is in your terms. If you go further, already you are going to spend more time, you're going to burn more fuel. Not that you shouldn't go to further away markets, but if you start local, your success will be more assured. I will tell you, I supply quite a number of supermarkets and restaurants and shops. They are all within 20 kilometers of me, not just by design. And that way, my costs of delivery are, minimal. And hence, I do not pass on the cost of my marketing cost, or my delivery costs, or other costs related to the business. I do not have to pass them on to the consumer. Then I will outprice yourself. As the business grows and evolves, then we are going to start thinking big and expanding. And then now we'll be dealing with economy of scale. At that point, now we can be as ambitious as we like. The next thing I'll talk about, I'm trying to be as slow as possible, can hear every word.
You are muted, Kanangwa. You are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so you're not, be your brand. You're not going to be seen advertising synthetic fertilizer because maybe someone offered you a lot of money to do that advert. So be your brand. If you're going to say your brand, your brand represents ecological organic farming, and somebody offers you X dollars to go and do their advert for your farm, even if you say you're not going to use that product on your farm, that then is it's a conflict of interest. You're not being your brand. You have got to try as much as possible to be your brand. Be your brand. Go out there, be your brand, market, talk to your friends, be honest, even when it's difficult, be honest, because sometimes when things are being perceived as radical, it's not easy to be honest, but be honest because you've answered the question why in the beginning. So obviously it should be easy for you to be honest and to be your brand. The last thing I'll talk about here quickly, I know I've overshot a little bit. What do people say about your brand when you are not in the room? That's a very important question. What do people say about your brand when you're not in the room? That brings us back to the point of invest in your brand. So you are not going to be all out there speaking about your brand when your workers don't even know anything. They're not trained. So investing in your brand also includes investing in the people that you work with, your team, your farm manager, your laborers. They have got to speak the same language. So as you invest in your brand, all that means is that you are investing in your human resources. You're investing in anything that is associated with your brand. What do people say about my brand when I'm not in the room? Are they going to say the same things that they say in my face? Or are they going to say, oh, this brand is going nowhere? This brand is just pretend brand. It's just to get ahead or to to get into what's becoming popular at the moment. So very, very important. So the reason I've talked also about creating your brand is because people don't think that a brand is important. Unfortunately, for those people, as I said, if you're in it for the long haul, unfortunately, or fortunately, you have got to have a brand. No, I'm not talking about logos. Of course, logos are important. Some people sell their products without logos or the big flamboyant packaging. But the people that they work, for example, the people that they supply, like supermarket chains, they know that this is brand so and so. So investing in your brand does not just mean logos and caps and t-shirts. It also means that your quality, if they see the way you are going to tie up your vegetable bundles, they will know that this is such and such ecological organic farm. So it's that kind of thing. Your brand sets you apart even without the logos. So take time. Who are you? Why are you doing it? Is going to really be the two things that are going to now settle you down, and you will know for sure where you want to go with this. I think, Gabriel, if I have a little bit more time, I can maybe end here or maybe amplify a few points.
Thank you, Kanangwa. I think our time now is running on. We can actually put that into our slot number 2, which is the next presentation for next Monday. And for now, we can stop here. And then if we have any questions, we'll maybe use the next 3 minutes for people to actually ask any questions.
Okay.
And thank you very much for this very, very important presentation, because as we go into agroecological farming, we also need to go in there with a business mind for those that might want to sell their produce. Thank you very much. If we do have any questions, most welcome. Colleagues, if we have any questions that would want to ask to Kanangwa, we can actually do ask. I've also noted some of the questions that were still directed to John. We will give him also an opportunity to respond to some of them.
There are a few here.
Yes, you may go ahead and respond to those. I think the one that I noticed was, how do we balance the issue of profit and the issue of maintaining the ecological balance?
Yeah, I saw that one also. It's very interesting. I think that's what I'm saying. That's why I said why. Who are you and why? So what we know, I don't know who's a farmer here and who isn't. So I'm speaking both as a farmer and as a marketer. So as a farmer, you will know in the long term that actually producing ecologically is cheaper, right, than not. You will see that if you do it correctly, producing ecologically is cheaper, meaning that while the others are grappling with high input costs and what have you, right, you will be enjoying your own, low cost of production. Meaning that now, if you are clever and are going to take advantage of this, your products will be sitting at the same price, even if you want. Your products will be sitting at the same price as conventional products, but you'll be making a bigger profit because you've understood that farming with nature is cheaper. I think we have got to get this right as farmers, as producers. When we farm with nature, in the long term, of course, some people, when they're transitioning at that point, it does look a bit more expensive because they have not got the art. They don't have their own. They don't have their own compost, for example. Once you now start making your own compost, 6 months later, you do the crop rotation properly. You do the companion planting. Believe you me, your cost of production will reduce. You will not even be talking about profit, because profit will become your middle name, because you'll be producing cheaper. That is a fact. And science backs this. Science backs what I'm saying. In the long term, there's higher yields, more nutritious yields, and better tasting products. So there we go. We're actually on the winning side of life right now as ecological organic farmers. I hope that suffices. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kanangwa, for the detailed response. I think it actually touches on the issues that have already been presented,
Yes.
and also, but enlightens us that it is the way to go, and we should look at it as the future for all agroecological practices that we are going to be involving ourselves in. Thank you very much. Do we have any other question from the participants? Because now we are right on our time and we need to get to the end of this session. Okay, thank you very much. I see no hand up, and so thank you very much, Kanangwa. And to all the colleagues, I just want to say to you, we also have Francesca, who has joined us on this call, and just acknowledge that she is here with us, and we also thank you very much for listening in, because in future we're going to also give you time to say something and to share with you. Francesca is the executive director for SAFCEI, so she has joined in, and she was listening in, and she also enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues, for this, and to John, thank you very much for touching on the very core of all farming, which is water, for today's session. We are going to be looking at the other two sessions next week and the following week. And just to say, we would also want to bring in somebody who would help us to share our stories. And this will be Stefanie Swanepoel, and she'll be sharing on how best we can take photos and be able to share as agroecological farmers together, so that we can share across the borders on experiences that we have, as well as on the issues that would want raised. Thank you very, very much to all of you. And if we don't have any other question, I would also want, okay, yes, we have Numisa, we have a question. Please go ahead, Numisa.
It's not a question, April. It's just to say I'll put on the chat box. We'll continue with our questions from the previous sessions. I'll put a link now. So if you have a question for the speakers that you weren't able to ask, please use this link to ask your question. We'll forward it to the speakers.
Thank you very much, Numisa. So let's get to the chat box and use the link that she's going to post, so that we keep on asking questions. It might be for this particular session, the presentations that we had today on water, as well as on marketing our produce, or any other question that might actually come up as we prepare our gardens and as we go into this particular season. With that, I would want to then ask for a closing prayer before we move on. Yes, the Menti link is on the chat. Let's make use of that and put in our contributions there. It will be live, I think, for how long, Numisa?
We are not going to put it up live, Gabriel. We're just collecting questions for the speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. So any questions that you have, make use of that link, and we will have all the questions and then share them with the speaker, so that they will be able to respond on Monday in our next session. I would like to invite Tele to give us a closing prayer. Tele, please, may you give us the closing prayer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I would like us all at this time to just bring our minds and center it again. to take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. May we draw on the spirit of life to come over us and to impart in us knowledge that we are to take from the presentation we had today. We spoke about water, water which is such an important symbol of life. And so when we go now into the rest of the week and spread among the rest of our communities this message of our precious water. And I just want to wish to all the faith leaders here, for those that are involved in the Green Faith movement, that you might have a blessed event on the 17th and 18th of October, as we come together as faith communities and say we stand as faiths for climate justice. And water is such an important part of that message. And so may all of us go now in peace and love and compassion for ourselves, for others, and for all of creation. May it be so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So do you want to take a picture of all of us for this particular event? If we can turn on our cameras, all of us, so that we can quickly take a picture for the record of who has been able to attend this particular workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'm just waiting for those who can switch on their cameras to do so.
Group photo.
Yes, I'm gonna take a picture just now, very soon.
Hi.
Hello, Chansey.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Okay, so I am about to take the first one. I can see people have switched on their cameras. I'm going to take the first one just now.
Hi.
Can you
Hi.
see my camera, Mumisa?
Hello. Hi.
Yes, we can see all of you.
Can see, I'm just gonna take one now. And then I'm going to take the last one very soon.
Hello. Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay, I'm taking the last one now.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody, for switching on your cameras.
Thank you.
Please have a farming week and prepare for your gardens and everything, so that we'll talk from our experience. And thank you to John, thank you to Kanangwa, and thanks to everybody.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
see
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next
Bye.
Monday. Hi.
Thank you.